There are three enemies that are against you when you start doing gentle parenting. It doesn't matter if you have a baby, a toddler, a teenager. These three things, if you are not aware of them, they could take you out of your game. And I see it a lot on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, parents saying, I tried gentle parenting and it doesn't work. And it is that the gentle parenting doesn't work, is that they face these three enemies and they didn't even know they were facing these three enemies, and it took them out of the game. So in this video, I'm going to tell you what those are so you're aware of them and you give gentle parenting a fair try. My name is Marcela Collier. I'm a parenting coach and HIC parenting education platform. I'm excited that you're here because in this channel we talk all things respectful parenting with understanding, gentle parenting. If this kind of content is something that you want to learn more, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell, and stay tuned. So number one is having preconceived ideas about children. And all of us have them. All of us have them or had them at some point, because our ideas about our children, about what they're supposed to be, how they're supposed to behave, comes from the messages that we received growing up, comes from our own culture, and comes from our own education and experience, right? I had that question last week and I was thinking, what is my misconception about children? Because I had an amazing opportunity of educating myself and going through a lot of training, and now I teach parents. However, I grew up in a Latino home. Indirectly, it was sent to me the message that children were a burden. When my parents were talking about how hard it was to raise kids, that they never listen, that they never do this, that they never cooperate, that their single life was easier, that if they didn't have kids, they could have done all these things. All that narrative created indirect messages to me of, I'm a burden. If it weren't for me, my parents would be happier. If it weren't for me, my parents would be less stressed. If it weren't for me, my parents would have been able to do more things, because those are the things that they were talking about. Even if you didn't hear directly, you are a burden, and maybe you did, indirect messages that come from conversations like this could create those misconceptions that travel with you throughout your life. And they enter into your parenthood. And now that you have a child, now that you're caring for children, all those preconceptions are there, are ingrained. When you're on the phone and your child is pulling the skirt, that misconception, for example, of you are a burden could come and visit me. And it might not be a conscious process that I'm like, okay, my child is a burden. No, but it's an unconscious belief that creates and triggers emotions in me that makes me feel as if my child is a burden at that moment for me. So that's the misconception for me. What was the direct or indirect message that you got growing up, that you got from your culture about children? Because those messages live in your nervous system. They live in you, and they're going to be triggered when those beliefs try to prove themselves with things that you see in your children. So the way that you go around this and you fight this enemy of gentle parenting is to replace those misconceptions with truth. So for me, my truth is that my children are not a burden. My children are a reason. And when I start feeling annoyed and they're a burden, I remind myself that they're my reason. Number two, and this one is big one, because you don't know what you don't know, and it is lack of information about our children's developmental stages. Why is this so important? Because we have expectations about our children, and many times their expectations don't match what they can give us at their developmental stage. For example, 65% of parents think that children under 3 are able to follow instructions when they don't want to follow instructions. And they get really frustrated when their kids scream no at them and they're like, but you won't listen to me. And it is that they won't listen, is that they cannot listen. Their brain is not fully developed. And children under 3, the area of the brain that helps them regulate their impulses to do things, even if they don't want to do them, it starts developing at the earliest of 4 years old, and it ends developing at 25 years old. So I encourage you to gain knowledge and understanding of your child. That's the main reason why HIC Parenting Education exists. It is a parenting education platform to help parents from all over the world gain the understanding and the tools to raise their children and give their children what they exactly need according to their emotional, physical needs and stage of development. I'm going to leave a link to HIC Parenting in the description. Number 3, projection of fears. According to cognitive behavior therapy, there are a lot of roadblocks that get in the way of effective communication. And one of them is catastrophizing. It is when we see a behavior and then we project it through fear and we think this big thing that could happen if we don't stop it right away is just a lie that lives in our head. So when we see our 2-year-old hitting, and then we're like, wow, if we don't stop that right now, they're going to grow up to be the school bullies. Or how are they going to be when they're 7 if I don't nip it in the butt right now that they're 2 years old? And again, it goes back to the understanding of their development. 2-year-olds, aggression is very developmentally appropriate and even healthy for a 2-year-old, because again, they don't have the brain development to stop their aggression. So those fears, that catastrophizing fear of that if I don't stop this right away, my kids are going to turn out bad, then that leads us to a lot of anxiety and sabotaging gentle parenting, helping our children communicate their emotions and telling them the gentle hands and all the things that we do in gentle parenting. All these things take time for you to see results. And if you want the result right away, for your fear that if you don't stop the hitting, the 2-year-old hitting right away, then that's going to get on the way of your good gentle parenting. Those fears could be solved in a very simple way. Gaining understanding of our children, understanding of our own misconceptions and beliefs, and that's how it will help you. And those are just a few of many myths that gentle parents have. I created another video about all these myths. It's this one right here. I encourage you to go there. And remember, visit HIC Parenting. I leave a link in the description. It only takes understanding to transform your parenting. I'll see you next time.